Joe Lines here, and I was exchanging some emails with Ryan Wells, who's a friend of mine who attends some of the AutoHotkey webinars, and we were discussing how helpful it would be to have like updates of, what did you work on the past week or past couple weeks. And he actually took the initiative and started writing and forwarding to me a list of things that he's been automating. And I thought, one, as I'm too lazy to actually write it, but no, I thought, it's really helpful to see, like, just to brainstorm, right, and see what other people have done, not the actual code, just topic-wise. Maybe on my examples, I might cover a little bit of the code to show how I did it. If I'm working on something new and interesting, but so I'm following up, and then I'm going to try to make these weekly or bi-weekly and just cover some of the things I've worked on. So to start off, what I have here, and actually this is when I'll share at least the guts of it because it's so simple, right? What I noticed was, let me ring over in LinkedIn. I have about 15,000 connections, first level connections. And what I was noticing was I would get a lot of these that were from people who, most of them were a lot of them were in other languages. And so I can come in here and say, unfollow whoever it is. But I'm like, what I'd love to do is just get rid of basically the vast majority of it and then be able to go back and pick and choose a handful of people I want to follow. And so I clicked here, improve my feed, and I found this list of, now, when I started, this was jam-filled, and what also doesn't make sense to me, there's something, LinkedIn is such a screwed-up website, but it says there's 4,829 that I'm following, and yet they only show, now I see, what is that, roughly, let's say 9, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 9. Before, it kept going down and down, but as you can see, I'm already down. I used to be at nearly 15,000, and from my script, just automating it, I've been unsubscribing it. So what I did was, let me fire up the tool I used on this one. Instead of using actual web scraping and connecting to the COM object, I was using Chrome here, and I used this capture text function. And so I just went and looked for this, and said, okay, let me trim it a little from the bottom. Not that I have to. And it doesn't matter if you do over. So that's enough. I'll do grayscale. Okay. And this is going to give me, and I can test it and say, oh, okay. Test. If it says okay, it says yes. That means it found it. When I click okay, it's going to jump to the first instance. And so that's where it moved it to. Okay, it found it. This is the code for actually moving the mouse. But I have a function that I wrote that's not part of their tool. Let me go back to the actual script now. And I'm going to replace this part of it. So I'm running it on my laptop actually right now at the same time, just because it does take up not resources, control of your, you can't be doing other things while it's running because it's literally moving the mouse. But it's what, let's say a dozen lines in reality. And I'm going to save that and launch it. And now let me come back to here, and I'm going to hit the button. Oh, looks like I didn't launch it. Let me go. My hotkey happens to be the happens to be the back button. But for whatever reason, it didn't launch. Was there an issue? Does not like this line. Did it not? What line? Line 8. Line 8? Oh, that's because I have the word desktop in front of it. Sorry. Yeah, duh. Of course not. Okay. All right. Now it's launched. Now I'm going to come back to LinkedIn and hit the button, and you'll see it clicks that. And then I had to add a delay in time because it was actually clicking it and clicking it again before the website could update. So anyway, it's going to go through all these, and then when there are no more, it'll do a page down. Now on this page, there aren't any more, so it would just stop. But what I also realized was, if you go to the followers, here you'll see I could actually turn on following, but in the second here, it's doing the page down now because it doesn't find the following. And then suddenly on this page, you'll see there's a bunch that I'm still following, of the people following me, I guess. Again, I don't understand LinkedIn's logic on how they're doing stuff. They do some crazy stuff as far as I'm concerned. So here are some more following, and you'll start seeing it working. So it clicks them, and then it clicks and then keeps going down and clicks and moves down the page. So right now, it'll do a full page down. So now all of these in a second here, it'll switch to following. So, and then it'll just keep going along, right? So I'm slowly pruning, getting rid of basically all these people that I really don't want to follow. I was adding to my network, but for the most part, I just want a bigger network. So I want to go back and add in some people that I actually do want to follow, mostly in technology and some direct marketing stuff. Anyway, so let me go back to the program here, the script I wrote. Again, this one is for the laptop because the images are slightly different, right? The nice thing about this function is you don't have to have an actual picture of it saved. This is the text. And I'll try to remember to put a link, but if you search my site, the Automator, if you search for Find Text, you'll see a video where I demonstrated the tool and my own function part, which is this Find Text left click. So when it finds it, you can say, okay, if it's an object, go ahead and click there. Do you want to adjust it? Do you want to move it down, up, and over? And do you want to move the mouse back where it was? If it doesn't find it, and this is where I had to add that sleeping for a second and a half, right? Then do the page down and then sleep again, because actually it was paging down too fast, and then it would page down and then find it and try to click, but the page was moving and it was clicking another profile. So I had to add a little bit of a sleep there. But anyway, it took me, less than 5 minutes to write the script, and it's been running on my laptop for like 2 days. Not that long, day and a half. And it's slowly burning through, getting rid of all these people. And there's no way, of course, on LinkedIn to do this. This is why I wrote it, and I love scripting. So that's one example. Another one, which is interesting, was I'm doing a project for someone where I'm scraping stuff from Zipcar, and I'm not going to get into the actual what I'm doing, but what I wanted to demonstrate was one thing I learned was pretty cool was Zipcar actually has an API. Now, I'm using their website, right, like this, and I'm purposely using Chrome here to show you my example. So after I log in, I hit join, sorry. I don't know why. There's my wonderful email address, Joe Junk email. So I was automating the web page, which there's nothing wrong with that, but generally speaking, it'll go slower than something else. And what I realized was, let me hit now. It's Control-Shift-I in Chrome will bring up this view, and what I really want is the debug view, and I don't understand why. It's supposed to bring up debug, but it doesn't. So basically, here in a second, let me click somewhere, and then when I click something like this, now this gives me the view I want. Now I'm going to go ahead and let's say I'm in Atlanta, because Atlanta, Georgia. And what I can do is actually come back here to the network. I can watch the traffic going on. Right, and so far, actually, none of this was really interesting to me. But when I hit search, this is what was interesting. Was I noticed there was an API call. These are all different API calls. And what was really cool was it allowed me, like this is showing me the 7 cars because it's 0 indexed, 7 vehicles found in that spot. Actually, yeah. And anyway, it allowed me to automate doing API calls instead of navigating the web page. And so also, by the way, after you bring up this view, what's cool is you can say, hey, let me see the headers that were sent on this call. So this is the call. I can double click it, and it will actually run it, and it's going to return the JSON data that gets returned. And so this is just an example of what actually gets pulled back. You can parse it, and then again, it's not HTML, it's JSON, so it's just smaller and leaner. But the website itself isn't doing browser calls. I don't know if it's using Ajax or not. I haven't looked at that. I don't know if you can even tell. But it's basically within that web page, it does browser calls without refreshing the entire page, and it's pulling in data. And so this allows you to see that traffic and to actually mimic it, because I can look at the headers of what's going on. I can actually look at a preview and see this is the data that comes back. If I was to look like at the doc, this, I think, but it only does it only shows the traffic that has happened after I navigate somewhere. So what I have to do is to navigate to another page, and then this will show you the if there's a page search, it would show you that traffic. I thought that would have been one in here. Let me see. But none of that's shown. Why is... I don't know what's going on here. Let's go back to here. Anyway, you get the idea, but it's a great way that you can back... I used to use Fiddler, and I still do. However, I just happened to notice... Oh, the other thing I loved about this... Let me use another example. Which actually is my next one. Is... It's funny, I don't have it on my list. I have a little cheat sheet on the other screen here. Let me type it in just to... I'm doing this, so why am I typing it in? But, so I was... one of my projects or businesses is being a wholesaler. And so Bigger Pockets... I was talking to my friend Gabe Cook, who I had the interview with. He also does web scraping, but he's an investor also looking for properties and stuff, and we're trying to wholesale. And what I noticed, what I did was they have, let's go to networks, to members. Again, this is just to help stimulate ideas of how you might automate things, right? When you look at the search, and let's see, yeah, I'll leave this open for now. But I was able to first go through, and I got a list of 40,000 people by looking like it right here. And you can see in the bottom left, the status bar, you can see the URL to his page, right? So I got a list of as many people as I basically could that were either their interests were in like wholesaling, and I'm sorry, not wholesaling, flipping, rentals. I looked at a couple others too. I think wholesaling because I'll still look at my competitors and things like that. But I got links to their profiles, and then I'm going to automate writing them a message. And so, let me see if I have that, because the URL, there we go, that you go to, which actually, I made a bookmark to it now that I think about it. The problem is I've added a lot of bookmarks recently, and you know what? Maybe it's in IE. Yeah, it is, because I'm automating it in IE, but I'm using Chrome now more so. So this ID is my partner's ID number, so you can get the URL and navigate to the page. But what I noticed was I was trying to automate my introduction message to each person and say, hey, are you interested in hearing about properties we have for sale? And this web page was really tough to figure out what was happening on it, to trigger events, to basically populate. Because if you programmatically set like the subject line or this, the page has event listeners on it, which I've also covered in another thing. Search my site on event listeners. But it what I realized was it was pretty cool. Let me clear all this. And now I don't want this view. Now I want, it is the debug window view. This is where I obviously I don't do this enough, but I know it's a Control-Shift-I, but it's somewhere, it's so weird because it just doesn't seem consistent. Like you have to have something here first to click. That still didn't quite give me what I want. Let me go to networks, not it. What I'm trying to get back is that view. Oh, they're right here. I'm sorry. So this is, let me close. I don't even know what this stuff is. I don't want to hide debugger. That's this whole thing. I don't want to hide that. I don't think I want any of this up here. I don't know why I keep looking at them. So, you know what? Let me not worry about that. It's this part is what I wanted. So on this page, what I did was I said, let me see the global event listener breakpoints. And what's cool is right now, like I can click in here and I can do stuff and nothing actually goes on, right? I don't know what's being triggered in the background or not. But what I can do is say, hey, you know what? I think there is a keyboard event listener, and I can actually go through and just say I want track all keyboard event listeners or specific ones. So I'm going to click this to pick up on all of them. Now when I come over here and start typing, so I mouse clicked in there, right? But when I start typing, notice it pauses the debugger. It actually tells me, hey, pause on event listener, key down, right? So now I know in that element, there's an event listener for key down. And so I need to go build, first I need to build the event, and then I need to dispatch it to basically trigger it. So the web page thinks that I literally typed there. And what I was doing was I said, okay, so the key down was the first one. So I'm going to turn that off. And then F8 is a shortcut, because if you come up here, let me just show you in case, here it is. So I'll highlight over it. See how it says F8 or Control / which takes both hands, and I'm not going to do that. So where's F8? F8. Okay, now we're back and going. Click in here. Now I'm going to click down. So after key down, then there's key press. Okay, so I have to go make another event for that. I'm going to hit F8. Come back in here. Oh, am I hitting F8? I'm hitting F8. There it goes. Okay. And then input. Okay, great. So now I got to trigger input as well. F8. And then there's probably key up. That would be the last one. Okay. So basically, there are 5 event listeners on this one element for keyboard stuff. Now that doesn't take into account mouse events, the mouse events were crazy, because if I click this, and let me hit back to F8, I'll show you, like, I can't even get to the thing, because the second I start to go over there, there's a mouse over, mouse out first, and then it's mouse over, and then mouse down, and then I can't remember if it was mouse enter, but there were just a ton. And so this allowed me, though, to understand which events I had to go create, and then basically I think of them as like tripping or triggering them or dispatching them in order for the web page to think I actually did something there. And so then there was one other one, I think, in the control also. I basically went through and turned everything on, and then what I haven't done is actually gone through everything and then said, well, you know what? I know there are all these listeners, but do I actually need all these listeners? Because it's quite possible they're not all needed. I might just have to have certain ones in order to, because basically what I was doing, I was programmatically, let me go ahead and close this. I was programmatically putting text here and hitting click, and it would say, hey, there's no message, even though I could see the text here. Or it would say, hey, your subject line's not big enough, even though I had a large enough text. The problem was it didn't know there was any text there. And so I was trying to circumvent that and get around it to automate my invitations. The other thing I'm going to do, by the way, is I'm going to automate. I'm not going to have like one subject line. I'm going to have like 8, and also like 8 different body messages, and slowly mixing them up. And that way, when I do this, it doesn't look like, to Bigger Pockets point of view, it doesn't look like I've automated, just because I don't know if they're going to do anything. But everything I'm doing is legit. As far as I have houses that I'd like to sell, I'm trying to find investors. They shouldn't really care, because I'm picking and choosing who I'm targeting, and it's specific. But I'm just going to do it because it's not hard, right? I just got to think up a couple different, some different subject lines, just minor tweaks, and then I'll automate going through this, and it's another fun one. So anyway, that was a cool thing I had learned how to do, of watching those event listeners, because it can be really, really problematic. I notice this is still open. Let me close that and go back to my list. So another one I had automated on LinkedIn was, we were trying to see what kind of industries and what companies hire like market researchers, because I have a master's in market research, and so I'm helping my alum, the current students and stuff. And so what I did was I first went through LinkedIn and I scraped the list of companies that have over 1,000 employees, or at least I scraped a lot of them in the United States. And so I got a list of about 6,000 companies. And then what I did was I went across the 6,000 companies. Let's just go ahead and here on LinkedIn. In Chrome, and I'll talk through. I can show what I automated just to give you an idea. Unfortunately, what a cute kid. Great. Let's say I'm going to do a people search. Now mine actually might come up here and show you, because I've done so many searches. I get these. See how he blurs it out? I've done too many searches, and they want me to upgrade. Blah blah blah. But it's okay. They do restrict how many searches you can do per month, which is whatever, LinkedIn. But so I said, current companies, and now watch when I put in, like, let's say Amazon, and I'm gonna hit apply. Notice up here, current company, and let me copy this. I'll open up site and paste it, and then I have a tool I wrote that basically parses that by the question mark and comma, and then reverse URL encodes it, or URL decodes it, so I can read it more user friendly. But this 1586, that was, what was it, Amazon, I think I said? Yeah, Amazon. And so I had each of these unique IDs for each company. And so I automated going, let's go back to this view just because it's a lot easier to read. I basically automated the search, but I also said, let me go back into all filters, and said either they have a title with market research, or you got to put or in caps, consumer insights. And now I'm going to hit apply. Now this will give me a count. There are 39 people at Amazon. Actually, let me look at one other thing. Locations. So let's narrow it down, because I only care about the United States. So there are 20 people at Amazon who have a title of either market, something in their title somewhere. And actually, I'm not sure if it only looks at their current job title. I can't quite remember that one, but it looks to see if they have a job title that has market research or consumer insights working at Amazon. And so I first looped over all the companies, and I got what industry they're in. And then I used this to go through and say, hey, there are 20 people who have this job title at that company. That allowed me to go across the 6,000 companies and say, hey, who's actually hiring market researchers, right? And of course, I could have had a few more titles and could have done it more robust, but it gives a good idea for the current students who's hiring, right? Where are they going to work? I also took the list of, I had about 700 roughly students from my degree, and looped over them and got the companies they used to work at, and went at it that way and said, hey, what out of the past 5 companies they worked at, what companies did they work at? And I built a major list of that, and then showed the biggest employers of the specific to our program, those graduates. So that's what I did on LinkedIn. That's basically, I mean, I've actually been doing other stuff too, but this was some of the cool stuff that I just thought, hey, you know what, it could be not that my specific examples aren't necessarily relevant, but just to give you an idea, right, of things that you can do and things you can automate and why you'd want to automate them, because nobody wants to type that thing in 6,000 times for different companies and then record the count on each one, right? It's just ridiculous. So thanks. Anyway, I'm going to try to keep this up like a weekly or bi-weekly thing, and we'll see you next time.